Scott Gecas is at the edge of the trading floor in Chicago at the CME Group. Welcome, Scott. Good to talk to you today. Ethanol report was out here this morning. A little bit of optimism in this as far as the grind. That seems to have increased just a little bit because of production. But the stocks numbers up 800,000 barrels. Could this kind of be a wash then?
It seems to be that way. So with the ethanol report that just came out, you didn't really see too much price action or price fluctuation. So I think everyone, in my opinion, is just all waiting for the report coming out. The thing that really sparks my interest is the skew with the options. It looks to me like just the future spreads are unwinding going into this report, and that leads me to believe that it's really confirmed by the option flow. So I was on Monday talking about the option skew and the soybeans being about $3 or so to the upside calls. Yesterday when I was on, that skew completely collapsed. It was only about 50 cents. Coming into this morning, their options skew is about a $2 premium to the downside puts. So with the futures unwinding and the option flow showing that there's a little bit more risk to the downside in soybeans, but the corn skew is pretty much flat. It hasn't changed in the last few days. So it might be that short bean long spread or long corn spread might be coming back into play where that hasn't been pretty much for the last 12 to 13 months or so. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these numbers are coming out on Friday, I'm sorry. But right now with the option flow, seeing the volatility in the beans, it's really interesting to see the skew go from the calls to the downside puts just within a few days. With the corn market, it's pretty much flat. So the corn market might be consolidating, might be pushing a little bit higher, but we won't know until we get those report numbers on Friday.
Yep, and that report will be out at 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 noon Eastern on Friday. And there's a lot of back and forth whether that's going to be positive or negative for this market. Scott, stay with us. Thank you very much for that. We'll be back in just a moment to get your thoughts on what's going on the livestock side. That's straight ahead. Scott Gecas still there at the edge of the trading floor. What about this hog complex here? We're seeing a little bit of a pullback from what we saw yesterday, but we're hearing stories that China's really aggressively buying pork from now Europe. And they're also trying to work it so that they can start buying pork from Canada again, it sounds like.
Yeah, so with the hog complex, everything is going to really depend on these Chinese trade war talks. If China gets the rollbacks, what they're asking for, we expect that import campaign to pretty much explode. And that is pretty much confirmed just by price action. The December futures are holding a huge premium to cash market, which expects that if we are expecting a little bit more demand for U.S. pork, with the short-term concerns with production and supply concerns, that's going to be offset within the next couple quarters. The second quarter production is expected to drop to the lowest level in about 14 years. So if that happens and China gets the rollbacks and they start importing U.S. pork aggressively, we expect that price to catch up with the futures. So we have to wait and see. Again, it's all about the headlines moving forward and what is going to happen with the Chinese trade war talks and the rollbacks. It's back and forth rhetoric. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. No one knows really what's going on until we get something in ink done in that is actually delivered. So we have to wait and see. Now, on the other side with the live cattle, we expect that production in the second quarter to increase, the largest into about 14 years. So that demand for U.S. cattle and U.S. beef is definitely there. We just have to wait and see what is going to happen in the next few weeks here.
Well, certainly that cattle market has been on fire. A little bit of a pullback, though, today. So we'll see if this is just a correction, if it's finding new firm ground, if we go higher from here. But as we've been hearing throughout the day, fundamentals are still very strong. Scott, we always appreciate it. Scott Gecas there with Walsh Trading in Chicago. They're at the edge of the trading floor, keeping us up to date on the latest of what the markets are, what the trend is anyway.